So just lift and roll your shoulders. And inhaling, raise your arms up, clasp them and reverse. Really stretch up with your hands and press down with your feet. Breathing out, go to one side, lateral stretch. Breathing in, come to the centre. And breathing out, go to the other side. Bounce in and out, just a lateral stretch. Inhale, come back to the centre. Breathe out, slightly turn to one side. Breathe in, come to the up centre, and then breathing out, turn to the other side. Come to the centre. Stretch your hands up, and if you can, lift your heels. It's a balance and it's focusing your left and right brain, but come down at any point. And now all come down together, resting your heels on the ground. And separate your hands to shoulder height. If your shoulders are heavy, you can always bend your elbows. Turn to look beyond the third fingers of one hand. It becomes a neck movement. Come back to the centre and turn to look beyond the third fingers of your other hand. Come to the centre. And then bend your elbows and bring your hands together. Press your palms together as hard as you can, and this kind of tones both your chest, little fingers as the lungs, but you're kind of almost getting that I must increase my bust. We don't need to do that, but it's just the under the arms bit, those back wing areas that are so the delights of getting older. And then just release your hands and lift and roll your shoulders. And then take your hands on your waist. And just step your feet out. And then just bend your knees fractionally, and your bottom goes away from you fractionally, and that puts your abdominal control on. So if you're engaging your abdominal muscles, you're providing support for your lower back. And then press your feet down and come back up to standing. So lift and roll your shoulders and clasp your hands behind you. This opens the shoulders. And turn to one side. Come to the centre, and then turn to the other side, and come to the centre. This next little bit's optional. Step your feet out to hip width apart, slightly bend your knees, and just come to bring your arms up above you, as little or as much as you would like. And if that's too much for you, your head is down while you lift your arms. You can always hold your wrists or your elbows. Wherever you are, press your feet down and come up to standing and lift and roll your shoulders. And then again, I don't know if you can do this. If you can't, then there are options to reverse prayer. So the palms of your hands go together behind your back, but if that's too much, hold your wrists or hold your elbows. And the benefit of this is that you're pressing your palms together at the little finger side. So again, you're opening your lung meridians. And with your elbows bent like this, try and have your elbows out, which is harder. You're opening your lungs again. So turning to, let's say, the left, it doesn't matter. Come to the centre and turn to the right or the other side. Come to the centre, and again with your feet hip width apart. Optionally, you may bend your knees and just bend forward. Elbows, trying to keep your elbows up. They naturally want to fall down. And then inhaling, coming up. Lowering your hands, lifting and roll your shoulders, and then inhaling. Hold your thumbs as you just sway from side to side. And then just lower your arms. Lift and roll your shoulders. So I've been doing some online training live training with somebody called T.S. Little, which is very interesting. So his take on coming to standing was slightly different. So again, I thought this was quite interesting. Just spread all your toes, your 10 toes, big toes into the ground, little toes, so that they're really spread. And then from there, just bring your attention to below your navel and imagine pulling in the navel and floating up. So first, before that, lift at your waist so that your waist lifts away from your pelvic bowl. That might relieve pressure, Ginny, on you for the bottom area. And then just pull in below your navel and feel the air's going up. Just pull in and just imagine it like a chimney flue, the air's floating up. From there, tip the back of your head backwards. So just slightly imagine the top of your base, just this part here, your skull, just going backwards. And then lift your chin so it's parallel to the ground. So that is T.S. Little's perfect standing. So I don't know if that's any easier for you or not at all. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that particular way of standing. The purpose of standing properly is that it supports your entire weight, so everything's balanced. So if, Ginny, you've got any aches and pains, then it's quite good to have a nod to postural alignment so that that's not, though I do take what you said about it happens when you're sitting down, but anyway, that's just a thought. So just circle the hands up and just open your arms out like rays of sunshine, and then circle your arms and your wrists down and circle them up, almost like dancing hands, and circle the hands down. And then just open and close your fingers as we did yesterday. And great if you're doing a lot of work, you need to stretch your fingers, your tendons out. And then just lift and roll your shoulders. And once more, as we raise our arms up, reverse. Look up this time. If your neck's sore, then look ahead, but look up so that you're almost going into a back bend. Your hands go back slightly. And then bring your head forward if you lifted it up. And once more, a lateral stretch, breathing out to one side, breathing into the centre, and breathing out to the other side. Breathing into the centre. Just turn slightly, centre, and breathing out, just turn slightly the other way. Come back to the centre, and just lift your heels slightly, for balance, and then come down. And then just lower your arms, and once more turn your head to one side, looking beyond the third finger. Just lift your arms up slightly, and then lower them, and look to the other side, and just feel if that's a lighter movement. Come back to the centre, and we'll just do that again, just lifting the arms slightly, then lowering them, and just feel if that's slightly lighter. Now lower your arms totally, because they are quite heavy. Just lift and roll your shoulders. And once more, opening the sides, opening behind you, just turning from one side to centre, to the other side, to centre. Bend your knees. This is optional, your arms above you, but your head must be down before you lift any arms. And then press your feet down as you roll up and separate your hands. Lift and roll your shoulders, that opens the energy gateways. And once more, either your reverse prayer or just your wrists or your elbows to turn to one side, come to the centre, and then turn to the other side and come to the centre. Just soften your knees and come back up. Release your hands and lift and roll your shoulders, and then from side to side. So with looking at the lungs. But another point I wanted, lower your arms, to just point out, I don't know if you can see, on the thumb, literally as you run your fingers down, there's a little dent almost at the base of your thumb, and that is something called the L10 point in reflexology, although of course it's on the hands, so it's like Chinese medicine. But that L10 point, lung 10, if you press on it, it's quite tender, and that kind of opens up it's an alternative opening up for lung meridians. I think I've said if you stretch your fingers or you stretch your feet, where your feet join your, where your toes join your feet, that's where the lung meridians open. This also is a lung meridian point in its own right. So if ever you felt you needed to improve your lung quality, that's just opening that up, and then it's the same on the other side, whichever hand, it doesn't really matter, just massaging that point there. And before we come down to the ground, we talked about yesterday energy points here. If you drop your fingers over the knobbles of your collarbones, there's a notch, and then if you just go an inch, there's a little dent, and that point there is, if you just tap on it, is one of your kidney points. I think it's called K27, and if you just tap very lightly all the way around there, it's boosting your kidney energy, which actually is part of your overall rejuvenation and essence factor. So just this simple tapping here is boosting your kidney reserves, your kidney energy. And of course the kidneys are very connected with the adrenal glands on top of them. So it's just, and you see sometimes girls with very long nails going like that, so it's just a natural tapping. There are other tapping points, but we'll just focus on that for the moment. And then coming to bring the hands together, just as you're not slouching, very hard to slouch with your thumbs pressed into your sternum, and then come to the ground however you feel that you're able to. And we're going to come to lying. Actually, just lying with the legs out this time. This is very much a mindfulness practice, so it's a slightly different style from yesterday. If you're stiff on your back, you can have support under your knees. I'm thinking of you, Julie, just to lift up that pressure from your lower back or for the sitting bone area. You can also have support under your head, just to be comfortable. And we're going to do a very strange thing, which is just open and close the feet. I'm going to have my feet up so that you can see. I'm just banging my big toes together, and if your big toes don't go together, but actually do it with your feet down, not with your feet up. I'm just doing that to show you, just that you, otherwise I go out of view. But just bang your big toes together. It's a Kundalini thing. It's activating the energy in your body. And then extend your heels and then point your toes away from you and extend your toes, heels, sorry, and then point your toes away from you. And then extend your heels, and this time raise your arms and raise them up above your head. They can be bent at the elbows. Just stretch your body out along the ground. You can hold your elbows. Your hands and elbows are likely to come off the ground here. Just getting into the upper body, and just slightly with your elbows go from side to side. Just stretching along the intercostal muscles, and then relaxing, releasing your arms back down to the ground, and just relaxing your feet out to the side. Just extend your right heel and raise your right arm. Breathe out and turn your head away from your right arm. Breathe in, bring your head back to the centre. And breathe out, lower your right arm back down to the ground. And then extending your left heel as you breathe in and raise your left elbow, bent at the elbow. Your left arm goes above you, it doesn't have to touch the ground. Breathe out turn your head away from your extended left arm. And you bent at the elbow. Breathe in, bring your head back to centre. And breathe out, lower your left arm. And release your left foot. And we'll do that once more on each side. So extending your right heel, raise your right arm above your head. Breathing out, turn your head to the left, away from your right arm. Breathing in, bring your head back to centre. And breathing out, lower your right arm and relax your right foot. And then breathing in once more, extend the left heel away from you as you raise your left elbow up, stretching under the arms. Breathing out, turn your head away from your left elbow. Breathing in, bring your head back to centre. And breathing out, lower your left arm. And now this time, extend your left foot and raise your right arm so that you get a diagonal stretch across your body, balancing you up. And then release, lowering the arm and relaxing the foot. And bring your attention now to your right heel and your left hand. You've got the opposite diagonal stretch as you raise your arm up and extend your heel. You just feel the opening of the hip. It's all creating space. And then breathing out, lower your arm back down to the ground. And then bend both knees, both feet come onto the ground, and your feet are hip width apart. And then keeping the right foot where it is, your right knee is bent, hug the left knee into the chest. And just take a couple of breaths here. We're back to the Apanasana, the lower energy release. It's the lower back release. I'm interested, Julie, with doing this, it might release off the pressure from your sitting bones. Might not, of course, but it's just a release at that lower level. You do need to stay here for quite a few seconds for the full effects to kick in. Just breathing and relaxing, and you're stretching out along your lower back. And then very, very gently release the left foot back down to the ground, and left knee is bent up to the ceiling as you transfer your attention to your right knee, hugging the right knee into the chest. Just hugging it in, relaxing. I think I said yesterday the right side is often more compromised than the left, certainly with right-handed people. So this is gently giving space along your lower back, particularly on the right side. And it's a semi-supine position, so really helpful to stretch out all along the hip area. And then very gently release the right foot back down to the ground. And open your arms out like a T. If that's too strong, and it can be quite strong, lower your arms so that they become a slight A. And then your feet are hip width apart, even wider, more towards the edges of the mat, as you very gently start to let both knees drift to one side. Mine are drifting to the right, but it doesn't matter. My left hip is lifting. Both knees gently come back to the centre. My lower back's being massaged as I then let both knees drift very gently over to the left side, and my right hip lifts. Let the knees drift back to the centre, and this time as you bring your knees over to one side, in this case my right side, your head can turn slightly away from the direction of the knees. Head and knees back to the centre, and then both knees drift over to the left, the other side, and the head can turn to the right. So The head is gently rolling as well as you're rolling across your sacral area, back to the centre, and just carry on swaying your knees and turning your head. So from a head point of view, you're actually getting into the back of the head, you're beginning, depending on how much you turn your head, getting into the ear area, it's all connected, massaging across the head, the neck's being just gently moved, but the ground is supporting the weight of your head. And same with your lower spine, as you turn from side to side, the lower back, the upper sacral area, across the bottom is being massaged. And then just very, very gently come to the centre. Keep your knees centre and up towards the ceiling. And just open both palms upwards towards the ceiling. So you're beginning to rotate the arm in the shoulder socket. And then both arms rotate down. And again, palms up as you breathe in. And palms down. So it's just opening the shoulder socket and open the arms once more, opening the shoulder space, and then palms down. And then hug one knee into the chest, and then hug the other knee into the chest. And very gently rock from side to side. And come to either a seated position by rocking up and down and coming to a seated position, or roll to the side. Taking your time so that you're allowing the blood to gradually make its way, resettle, come to a seated position. And again, Jilly, if you need to sit on a block or a cushion or any kind of support at all, then please do that. So just come to a seated cross-legged position. Have your hands on just below your knees. And just explore going to one side and see how far you can go before you have to engage your muscles to stop you falling over. And have a sense that you're lengthening from the base of your spine to the top of your head and that your chin's tucking in slightly. Sit back up to centre and then just gently go over to the other side. Your spine is long. Come to the centre. Just slightly lean back and see again how far you can go before you start to need to engage your muscles. Come to the centre. And then very, very gently, again, having an awareness of length from the tailbone to the top of the head, come forward. And you can just rest your fingers on the ground in front of you to come very, very slightly forward. Your back of the neck is long, your chin is slightly tucked in. So you'll feel the blood has got free passage along your spine, your neck, into the head. It's very releasing and opening at the back of the head. And then just slightly engage your abdomen in towards your spine, only about 10% of the capacity, just to slide your hands in. And just bring one hand across the knee, hold your knee, and the other hand behind you. Lengthen your spine, shoulder try and lower it away from your ear, and gently turn to one side. Your head is the last thing to turn. Press your back hand down, lengthen your spine, and breathing out, just turn slightly. And just stay here for an in and an out breath. So we're moving the samana energy, the next energy up around the navel energy. Coming back to the center, just lengthen your spine. And then come to cross your hands to the other side and your back hand behind you to support you. Press your back hand down, lengthen your body. Breathe out, turn. Remember, your head is the last thing to turn. It's the least important thing. The focus is on your abdomen. You're turning your navel. towards the side. Activating your samana energy, which is very much associated with digestion, but transformation or general. Chinese are very into health and diet and digestion system. And then very gently come back to the center. And just very gently, just a nod forward. You can hold your knees or place your hands on the floor in front of you. You're balancing the rotation that we've done onto the back. So coming forward is a neutralizing of the spine. Just to get everything back to its original position. And then sliding your hands back, bringing your knees slightly together, and we're coming to cat position. So we're going to be warming the spine. There are no variations here, we're just cat-cow. Thumb and second finger pressed down. Fingers spread. The inside of your arms are slightly angled towards each other. In other words, what I'm looking for is that your arm is located into the shoulder socket. It's not skewed out. Your knees, you can adjust how you feel that you want to. Originally, cat-cow was done with the toes tucked under, but in more modern yoga classes, it's come to have been adapted for the toes just flat. Today's modern yoga class tends to have that, toes flat, but you can do whatever you want. Anytime you tuck your toes in, you secure your spine, but here you don't need to secure your spine particularly. You do have the advantage of opening the lung meridians, so whatever you want to do. Inhaling, dipping your back, either looking up or looking on the floor. And breathing out, rounding your back. Your chin comes to your chest. Space all the way along the vertebrae. Encouraging breath to go in towards the back. Inhaling, dipping the back. And breathing out. Rounding the back, initiating the movement from the tailbone all the way up, finishing with the chin tucking in and the head comes in as you round. Inhaling, dipping the back. And exhaling, rounding the back. Vertebra by vertebra. Back then. Another visualization can be, instead of initiating the movement from the base of the tailbone, that someone just puts a magnet on the center of your back and you just lift up like a cat will pick up its kittens. But you can use that visualization if that works for you. I prefer the one initiating from the base of the spine, but I've learned that everyone's different. So again, carrying on, but use whichever visualization works for you. Either initiating the movement from the base of the tailbone, each vertebra in turn, rounding, or like a cub being picked up by its mum, almost by the back of the neck, sort of hanging, but there's a centre of the back here. So this exercise is a very safe one for the heart, certainly, but it starts to warm the spine up. And it encourages a very gentle flow of energy all the way along the spine, from the tailbone to the top of the head. Your back is perfectly supported by your knees and your hands. So the movement becomes very safe, very gentle. The space opening up between the vertebra only open up as much as you want them to. You'll bend and round only as much as you want to. And the breath is encouraged more to go into the back, which we don't tend to use so much. And then next time you round, come to tucking your toes if they're not tucked already, and come into a very soft downward dog. I'm going to lift one knee, fractionally, then the other. I'm going to push my weight back. I'm going to alter my hands slightly towards me, weight away from my hands. And then once I'm secure and I'm lengthening from my head to the tailbone, I can then start straightening my legs. They don't have to come, the heels don't have to come to the floor. You can keep a bend in your elbows, you can widen your hands, you can widen your feet. And just bend both knees, that will lengthen you along the spine. And begin to straighten your legs, but only within your capacity, and bend and straighten and bend. You can bend one leg at a time, walking the dog. And then just very, very gently bend both knees back down to the ground. And move your hands to the left to allow your right leg to step up. And then bring your hands either side of your right foot. In this position, I'm sure you'll say you'll pull me apart, but your your toes should be in line with the tips of your fingers. But that's just perfection and it's very hard to achieve. So just explore coming slightly forward and slightly back. You can come slightly beyond your 90 degrees fractionally here because your hands are supporting the weight of your body. Just slightly come back. You're just exploring the part of your hip movement on the right side here. As you come forward, just have a sense of length along the spine. And then come back. And then slide your right foot back to kneeling. Just gently move your bottom from side to side. And then very gently move both hands to the right. And that gives space for your left foot to gently come up. Use your hand to move your thigh up if you need that. And hands then come either side of your left foot. And just explore coming forwards and back. We're focusing on a particular opening of the left hip now. Everything is slow and deliberate. Feel your way. And then slide your left foot back. Tuck your toes. Bring your hands back towards your knees. Lift both knees up and come to rolling up very gently. You can move your feet towards your hands or vice versa. And as you roll up, really bend your knees so that your torso is supported partly by your knees. As you start to roll up, you can hang or you can use your hands on your shoulders just to support you as you really, really take your time to almost ease up, vertebra at a time. The visualization here is very often a string of pearls being laid down your spine like a string of pearls, unraveled and curled up, just very, very, very gently coming up, slowly, slowly coming up to standing position. You get a sense of how heavy the body is when you bring it up so slowly. And then once more, just thumbs together and just gently sway from side to side. A swaying palm tree, where the tree gets its strength from its flexibility and rigidity doesn't serve it necessarily quite so well. And just very, very gently lower your hands back down again. So your hand positions reflect your lungs. There are 16 positions, which is stunning. If you open your palms upwards, you are in the front of your lungs. So it would make sense that as you rotate your hands back, you're at the back of your lungs. If you bring your hands inwards, you're to the inside of your lungs, and the focus of breath is there. And if you open your hands out and up, you're on the outside of the lungs. And again, you can turn your hands up, upper part of the mid part of the lungs and lower part. And you can turn your hands right round, which you can see I'm struggling to do. I look like a vulture sitting there, and then just coming back. And then the same as you go up, up, back of the hands. So how you position your hands opens various parts of the lungs. I've always found that quite fascinating. So come to a gentle balance. So tree. Now, not my forte. So you can hold on. You can, I don't know if you can see me, you can actually rest your big toe on the ground. Or Julie's demonstrating, as is Francis, and that's that you are, Patsy, much better than me, the tree. One of the things that you'll see that I'm doing, which I shouldn't be doing, when you put your leg, oh wow, Julie, that's excellent. When you're putting your leg on your other leg, it's sometimes you'll see people with the leg, the outside leg bowing out, as mine is doing now. And that's hopeless. Because that is putting pressure on the hip. So the standing leg needs to be standing. And if there's a bowing, then someone needs to lower their leg so that there's less pressure and that the hip can actually be orientated. So I'm very impressed with your trees. So it's it's balance and it's left and right brain coordination. I'm cheating, I've got my big toe on the ground. And the left-right brain coordination is a balance. You can't think of much else while you're doing that, and your mind is engaged. Otherwise, you lose balance. And then come to just moving from side to side. Your hand positions can be however you want to in the tree. They can be at the heart, they can be like that, they can be up above, just side to side. And now try on the other side. But do feel that you can hang on if you want to, just and another variation of tree which I quite like, because I can hang on and bring my leg up, it's just almost like that tree, but I cannot do that unless I hold on. Wow, well, very good, all of you. Gold stars. Brilliant. Okay, that is excellent. And then just come to moving from side to side. And as you go to one side, come to open your arms, and whichever arm comes in front, come to hug yourself. Come forward and go from side to side. And then open your arms, and the other arm, if you remember which it was, hug, come forward. You'll open your upper thoracic back apart from loving yourself. And then release. Lift and roll your shoulders. And before we come to the ground, this next exercise, I can't explain it. I can't even think of it beforehand. So it's, just join me if you can. I'm just trying to sort of think. So it's up, down, cross. Up, down, right hand crosses, back. Up, down, left hand crosses, back. Up, down, right, back. Up, down, left, back. Up, down, right. Up, down, left. If I talk to you, I'll lose the track of it, but you carry on doing it, and it is a releaser. It's very good for the heart, releasing anger and frustration and irritation. And it's, I can't quite explain why, it's just a release of energy. Up, down, up. And it comes within the Kundalini tradition of yoga. And just swing your arms when you've got to, up and down. And then just come to, we're going to come to rolling bridge again. So on your backs, bottom, have some support in you if you need that. And knees upwards, feet hips apart. Just starting with the pelvic tilt, so just going to lift your bottom, but you don't actually, and just then relaxing, and there's a little gap under your top, under your back. Pressing your back down as if you're going to lift your bottom, and then just releasing and relaxing. And then just a token, press your feet down, lift your bottom, lift your hands, bend at the elbows if you need to, chin tucks in. You can stretch your arms up above you if you want to. And then breathing out, lower everything down and hug your knees into your chest. And just one more time. Press your feet down, lift your bottom, lift your arms. They can be bent and then they can straighten out, only if you want to, stretching. Just check that your knees aren't splaying out to the side. Feel that someone's holding them, and then just releasing your bottom and arms down, hugging your knees into your chest, and rocking from side to side. And then a very gentle roll to the side to come up to a seated position. An alternative to lying on your tummy, if you think of lying on your tummy and then lifting up, it's a back bend. And so in yoga therapy, you can achieve the same effect by sitting up, just your hands can be relaxed. In classic yoga, they're very strictly pointing ahead, but in yoga therapy, just however it's comfortable, and just lift your chest. And that has the same effect, lifting your eyes, controlled lifting of your chin, but only if that's good for your neck, not very far. The lifting of the eyes upwards disconnects the eyes from the stress centers of the brain. Currently in the States, post-traumatic stress, post-traumatic stress training is lifting the eyes and eye movement to break stress patterns and then just release and relax. And just slide your hands then slightly forward. Just have a sense of lengthening along your spine and then just release and relax forward. Calming for the nervous system, opening space along the vertebra. Encouraging the breath to go into the back. Space above the kidneys for the adrenals. Something called the vagus nerve, which is a bundle of nerves and seems to be very much in vogue at the moment. But when you bring your chin towards your chest, you are activating the vagus nerve, and that's very much decreasing any inflammation in the body. Of course, you have to do it a little bit longer than we're doing it. But again, all very helpful. And the back of the neck, when I say it's long, it's slightly stretched. So blood, again, is not quite compressed at the neck area. Just a very gentle calming for the nervous system. And if your nervous system is calming, your body is calming, and your breath starts to slow down. So it's good for your blood pressure, it's good for stress and anxiety. And then very gently come to a seated position. And we're going to do something reasonably weird, which you've done with me if you've joined me for mindfulness. It's a couple of Sa, Ta, Na, Ma meditations. So again, this is very rooted in Kundalini, and slightly moving the head. Up and down is the pineal and pituitary, which is your master control, and slightly side to side is the thyroid and the parathyroid, which is your also your metabolic control. Again, it's a de-stressor because you're slightly raising your eyes. The Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, if you were at home, you can chant it out loud, mentally chant it. It has a certain resonance, and it's meant to represent a circle of life. So it's Sa, starting with birth, life, death, and rebirth. But you can count 1, 2, 3, 4 if you can't. The Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, nice resonance. So sitting comfortably, just slightly raise your chin, and I'll say Sa, but you can say it or not mentally. Lower your chin slightly to chest, Ta. Slightly move your head to the left, Na, N-A. Slightly bring your head to center and then to right, Ma, M for Michael, Mother, A. Back to center. So breathing in, Sa. Lower your chin, Ta. Left, Na. Right, Na. We'll just do a few. Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. 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 Last one, Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Bring your head back to center for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to do the same again with our fingers. So again, I'm sure I said to you, they do this for testing Parkinson's. So your hands can rest on the back of the fingers. I'm only holding my hands up, but you can see them. So it's thumb to second finger, Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. But do that with your hands resting down. We'll just do a few of those. Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. 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 And last one, Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Just stay for a couple of breaths, noticing any effects. If you wanted to do this at home, then the actual practice is 50 Sa, Ta, Na, Mas. And the movement of your head, if you're doing the first one, can be a tiny amount, or it can be, you'll see people really moving their heads around, which I wouldn't recommend. You just need to make sure that your neck's protected. So thank you very much, everybody.